I was staring at my bank app when Sophie leaned over my desk. You look like someone just stole your lunch. I'd settle for losing lunch, I muttered. This is worse. How bad? Rent due. Salary late. Savings gone. I sighed. I'm basically one bad day away from sleeping in the office. Sophie crossed her arms. You should ask for an advance. From her. I shook my head. I'd rather sleep on the carpet. She smirked. She doesn't bite. Much. My phone buzzed. A short message flashed on screen. Olivia Bennett, come to my office. Now. Sophie whistled softly. You're being summoned. That sounds like a death sentence. Relax, she said. Maybe she's promoting you. Or firing me. I stood up slowly. My chest felt tight. I hated being called in without warning. Olivia Bennett never wasted time, and she never called someone unless she had reason. I knocked once. Come in, she said. I stepped inside. She sat behind her desk, perfectly composed, reading something on her tablet. Her voice was calm. Close the door, Daniel. I did. She looked up. Sit. I sat. My hands felt cold. She studied me for a moment. You've worked here 3 years. Yes. You're punctual, quiet, reliable. I try. You also don't gossip. I don't like drama. She nodded. Good. I need someone like that. I frowned slightly. For work? No. She folded her hands. For something personal. I blinked. Personal? I need you to pretend to be my husband. I thought I heard wrong. Sorry, what? My husband, she repeated calmly. For one dinner. I stared at her. You're joking. I don't joke at work. Why me? My ex-boyfriend will be there, she said. He believes I can't move on. I want to prove him wrong. That's a lot. You only need to act. Hold my hand. Speak naturally. Nothing complicated. I leaned back slowly. This is strange. I'll pay you. I stayed silent. She slid a paper toward me. A number was written on it. My throat tightened. This for one dinner? Yes. That's more than 3 months of my salary. I know. I rubbed my neck. There must be someone else. I don't trust anyone else. That's not comforting. It's practical, she replied. I hesitated. What if I mess up? You won't. You sound very confident. I chose carefully. I looked at the paper again. My mind raced. Rent. Bills. Food. Everything felt heavier. You don't have to answer now, she said. I sighed. When's the dinner? 2 days. That's soon. Yes. I stood up slowly. Can I think about it? Of course. I nodded and left. Sophie jumped up when I returned. You're alive. That's good. I sat heavily. She asked me to be her husband. Sophie blinked. Excuse me. Fake husband. One dinner. Sophie leaned closer. You're serious? She offered money. How much? I showed her. She whistled. That's not a request. That's a trap. You think so? She doesn't do anything without a reason. I figured. So what are you doing? I don't know. You should say no. I need the money. She softened. I know. I stared at my desk. It's just acting. Nothing with her is just acting. I can handle it. She shook her head. Just be careful. I nodded slowly. An hour later, I knocked again. Come in, Olivia said. I'll do it. She nodded once. Good. She stood and walked around the desk. There are rules. I expected that. No real emotions. Okay. No personal questions. Understood. Stay close to me. Right. Act convincing. I'll try. She looked at me directly. Don't try. Do. I will. She paused. We'll rehearse tomorrow. Rehearse. Yes. We need chemistry. I almost laughed. That sounds weird. It's necessary. I nodded. Anything else? She stepped back. Yes. I waited. Her voice softened slightly. Don't make me regret choosing you. Something in her tone felt different. I won't, I said quietly. I left the office with a strange feeling in my chest. This wasn't normal. This wasn't just a job. After work, I walked into a small clothing store. The clerk looked at me. Formal. Yeah, something cheap. He handed me a dark suit. I tried it on. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. I paid and stepped outside. The night air felt cold. I looked at the bag in my hand. Fake husband, I muttered. I laughed quietly, then stopped. This is going to change everything, I whispered. I took a breath. I can feel it. I walked into Olivia's office the next morning, carrying the cheap suit. She looked up, then frowned slightly. You bought that? Yes. She stood and walked around me. It doesn't fit properly. It was affordable. That's not the goal. It's all I had. She sighed. We're fixing this. That's not necessary. It is. My family notices everything. She grabbed her coat. Come with me. Now. Yes. We drove in silence. After 15 minutes, we entered a high-end store. I stopped at the entrance. This place is expensive. I know. I can't afford. You're not paying. That makes me uncomfortable. You're working. She handed me a navy suit. Try this. Inside the fitting room, I changed. When I stepped out, she stared quietly. Better, she said. It feels too nice. You need to look like you belong beside me. I swallowed. Right. She adjusted my collar. Her fingers brushed my neck. I froze. Relax, she said softly. I am. You're stiff. I don't usually get styled by my boss. She almost smiled, then stepped back. We need to rehearse. Back at her apartment, she placed 2 cups of coffee on the table. Sit. I sat. She took a deep breath. We met at work. That part is easy. We kept it quiet. What? You're private. I'm cautious. Okay. We dated for 6 months. Secretly. Yes. Then we married. Small ceremony. No guests. That sounds believable. She nodded. Now stand. I stood. She stepped closer and slipped her arm into mine. Hold me. I hesitated. Daniel. I gently placed my hand on her waist. Closer. This is close. Closer. I moved slightly. My heartbeat sped up. She looked at me. Smile. I tried. Not like that. Ow. You're supposed to love me. Her words landed heavier than expected. I tried again. She studied my face. Better. Her hand tightened on my arm. The warmth felt real. This is strange, I muttered. Get used to it. We practiced walking across the room. Talk to me, she said. About what? Anything. Couples talk. I cleared my throat. Did you sleep well? That's boring. Sorry. She sighed. Try again. I missed you. She blinked. That was too much. I asked. No, she said quietly. It worked. We stopped. I asked carefully, why does this matter so much? My family likes him. Ethan, yes. You want to prove something. I want them to stop pushing me back to him. What happened? She looked away. That's not part of the script. You don't have to tell me. I won't. Her eyes looked colder again. We resumed. She leaned her head lightly on my shoulder. This is normal. It doesn't feel normal. It will. Her voice softened. You're doing well. Thanks. We practiced sitting together. Hold my hand, she said. I did. Her fingers were warm. Don't grip too tight. Sorry. Relax. I loosened slightly. She watched our hands. For a moment, she looked thoughtful. Then she pulled away. That's enough for today. I nodded. At work, Sophie cornered me near the printer. You look different. New suit. Also nervous. Rehearsal. Her eyes widened. You actually rehearse? Yes. She leaned closer. How was it? Professional. Uh-huh. She's serious about this. You sure this is fake? I paused. She smirked. That silence says everything. It's just acting. Your face disagrees. I sighed. I'm fine. Just don't fall for her. I won't. You're already thinking about it. I'm not. She laughed softly. You're terrible at lying. Later that evening, Olivia called me again. One more rehearsal. I stood beside her near the door. Imagine we just arrived, she said. Okay. She slid her hand into mine. Relax your shoulders. I did. She looked up at me. Say something. I'm glad we came. Good. She nodded slowly. For a second, she didn't let go. Then she stepped back. That's enough. I exhaled. Tomorrow. She nodded. Her voice lowered slightly. Tomorrow night, don't forget, you're my husband. My chest tightened. I won't forget, I said quietly. She watched me leave. I walked down the hallway, my heartbeat faster than it should be. The gates opened slowly, and I exhaled. This place is huge. Olivia kept her eyes forward. Act normal. I've never seen normal like this. You're doing fine. I'm nervous. Hold my hand. I did. Her grip felt steady. Remember the story, she whispered. We met at work. 6 months. Private wedding. She nodded. Good. We stepped out of the car. The front door opened before we knocked. A warm-looking woman smiled. You must be Daniel. Yes, ma'am. She hugged me lightly. I'm Margaret. Nice to meet you. She turned to Olivia. He looked kind. Olivia squeezed my hand slightly. A tall man stepped forward. Arthur. I nodded respectfully. Sir. He studied me silently. I held his gaze. Thank you for having me. He gave a small nod. Come inside. A younger girl rushed over. You're the husband? I smiled. I guess I am. I'm Lily, she said. You look nicer than I expected. Is that a compliment? Yes. I laughed. I'll take it. She grinned. You're already better than Ethan. Olivia stiffened slightly. I asked gently, he's coming. Margaret sighed. Unfortunately. We walked into the dining room. My heart beat faster. Then the door opened again. A confident voice echoed. Am I late? I turned. Ethan walked in, smiling like he owned the room. He looked at Olivia, then at me. So you're the replacement? I stayed calm. Daniel. He smirked. That's not what I asked. Olivia spoke quietly. Ethan, behave. He ignored her. You look ordinary. I am, I said. That's honest. Arthur cleared his throat. Sit. We took our seats. Margaret stood. I'll bring the food. I stood automatically. Let me help. She looked surprised. You don't have to. I'd like to. In the kitchen, she smiled. You're polite. My mother taught me. She raised you well. I hope so. We carried dishes together. Ethan leaned back. You don't need to play house. I set the plate down calmly. I'm helping. He rolled his eyes. Lily whispered, I like him. Arthur glanced at me. What do you do, Daniel? I work in finance. With Olivia? Yes. He nodded slowly. And you married quietly? We prefer privacy. Olivia added softly. It felt right. Ethan laughed. Sounds rushed. I answered calmly. Sometimes you don't need time. Margaret smiled slightly. We started eating. Lily leaned toward me. What's your favorite food? This is already winning. She giggled. Good answer. Ethan cut in. You're trying hard. I looked at him. I'm just being myself. He smirked. That's unfortunate. I ignored him. Arthur asked, Where's your family? I paused. They passed away. Margaret softened. I'm sorry. Thank you. Lily quietly said, You can borrow ours. I smiled. I might. Ethan scoffed. This is getting sentimental. Olivia's expression tightened. He continued. You always like dramatic gestures, Olivia. She replied quietly, Drop it. He leaned forward. You really married him? Yes. That's disappointing. I said calmly. She made her choice. He smirked. Temporary choices. I placed my fork down. She deserves respect. The room went silent. Arthur looked at me carefully. Margaret watched Ethan. George, who had been quiet, nodded slightly. Ethan laughed harshly. Respect? She left me without explanation. Olivia's voice shook. You cheated. That was nothing. Lily frowned. That's awful. He ignored her. You overreacted. I felt Olivia's hand tremble. I held it gently. She's not alone anymore, I said quietly. Margaret looked at our hands. Arthur leaned back slowly. George smiled faintly. Ethan's face darkened. You think holding her hand makes you important? No, I said. Being there does. He slammed his glass down. You don't know her. I know she deserves better. Olivia squeezed my hand. Ethan stood. This is ridiculous. Arthur's voice hardened. Sit. I'm not staying for this. Margaret said calmly. Then don't. Lily crossed her arms. Bye. Ethan stared at me. Enjoy your role. I will. I replied quietly. He stormed out. Silence filled the room. Margaret exhaled. That was tense. Arthur looked at me. You stayed calm. I didn't want to ruin dinner. George chuckled softly. You improved it. Lily smiled. You definitely did. Olivia looked at me differently. Her eyes were softer. Margaret reached for my plate. More. Yes, please. Arthur nodded. You're welcome here. Thank you. We continued eating. The tension slowly faded. After dinner, I stepped outside for air. Footsteps followed. George stood beside me. You handled them well, he said quietly. I tried. He studied me. You care about her. I hesitated. I'm doing my best. He leaned closer slightly. You're not pretending, are you, son? I was about to leave when Margaret stopped me. You're not driving back tonight. I blinked. I can. Arthur cut in. Stay. It's late. Olivia stiffened. That's not necessary. Margaret smiled. Nonsense. We have rooms. I glanced at Olivia. It's fine with me. She exhaled. Fine. Lily grinned. Sleep over. I tried to smile. This is getting more real than planned. Olivia shot me a look. Not helpful. Inside the room, it was quiet. Too quiet. I stood near the bed. This is awkward. Olivia folded her arms. You think? I didn't plan for this. Neither did I. A long silence stretched. She finally said, sit. I sat on the edge. She stayed standing. We need to keep this consistent. I know. Her voice lowered. My family is attached. They like me. They like the idea. I nodded. Ethan didn't. Her expression tightened. She turned away. I asked softly, do you want to talk about him? No. Another silence. Then she said quietly, he cheated. I looked up. With someone from his company, she continued, and laughed about it like it meant nothing. That's disgusting. She shrugged slightly. He said I was too controlling. I shook my head. You didn't deserve that. She froze. I continued, no one does. Her voice dropped. You don't know everything. I know enough. She looked at me, eyes sharp, then softer. I believed him, she said quietly. That's not your fault. It felt like it was. I stood slowly. It wasn't. She turned away again. Enough. But her voice wasn't firm. Later, we stayed on opposite sides of the room. Neither of us slept well. Morning came early. Margaret knocked. Breakfast is ready. We went downstairs. She pulled me aside. Thank you. For what? For calming everything last night. It wasn't difficult. She smiled. You're good for her. I hesitated. I'm just helping. Arthur approached me after breakfast. Walk with me. I nodded. Sure. We stepped outside. He said, you care about her? I replied carefully, yes. Romantically, I paused. We're married. That's not an answer. I looked ahead. I respect her. He studied me. Ethan said you're paid. My chest tightened slightly. That's not true. He didn't react. And if it were, I wouldn't be here. He nodded slowly. Good answer. Back inside, I saw Olivia talking to someone on the phone. Her expression changed when she saw me. She ended the call quickly. Ready to go? She asked flatly. Yes. The drive back was silent. When we arrived at her apartment, something fell off. She didn't look at me. Ethan came by. I frowned. What? He was waiting after you left. What did he say? She hesitated. Nothing important. That doesn't sound like you. Her voice sharpened. He said you're with me for money. I stopped. And you believe him? I don't know. That hurt more than I expected. I never asked for this, I said quietly. She looked away. Then why are you here? She asked. I didn't answer fast enough. She nodded slightly. Exactly. She walked past me. Remember, she said coldly, this was temporary. But her voice cracked at the end. I stood still. Back at work, Sophie noticed immediately. You look worse than yesterday. Family dinner aftermath. She narrowed her eyes. What happened? Ethan showed up. Her expression dropped. Of course he did. And now she's distant. Sophie leaned on the desk. Because she's confused. She doesn't trust me. She doesn't trust anyone right now. I stayed quiet. Sophie studied me. You're getting attached. No, that was too fast. I exhaled. It's just complicated. Daniel, I know. You're not built for fake relationships. I'm starting to see that. That evening, Olivia called me into her office. She didn't look up when I entered. This is over soon, she said. I know. We just need to finish the dinner cycle. Right? She finally looked at me. Don't make it harder. I'm not trying to. She nodded once. Good. I turned to leave. Daniel. I stopped. She hesitated. Nothing came out. So I left. Next morning, I packed files on my desk. Olivia stood at the doorway, watching me. I didn't notice at first. When I did, I froze. She whispered so softly, I almost didn't hear it. Why does this feel real? I didn't even sit down before Henry Walsh stopped me in the hallway. He crossed his arms. So this is your game now? I frowned. Excuse me. Don't act innocent, he said. You're using Olivia to climb up. That's not true. He laughed coldly. Everyone's talking about it. What are they saying? That you've suddenly become important because of her. I shook my head. I didn't ask for any of this. He stepped closer. Just don't ruin the company while you're at it. I'm not ruining anything. He walked away without another word. I stood there, tension tightening in my chest. Sophie appeared beside me. You heard that? Yes. It's spreading fast. Great. She lowered her voice. And Ethan's digging. I looked at her. Digging what? Everything. My stomach dropped. He won't find anything. Sophie didn't look convinced. Meanwhile, Olivia didn't say much that day. She barely looked at me in meetings. That evening, she called me into her office. We're going again, she said. Another dinner? Yes. Celebration event. For what? My family wants it. I nodded slowly. Okay. She hesitated. With a navy suit. I still have it. Good. Something fell off. In the car, she stayed quiet for a long time. Then suddenly she spoke. If this wasn't fake, would you stay? I turned slightly. What? She kept her eyes forward. Answer honestly. I paused. The silence grew heavier. Finally, I said, I don't know. She nodded once. That's an answer too. We didn't speak again until we arrived. The house was brighter this time. Decorations. Music. Laughter. Lily ran out first. You're here. I smiled. We are. Margaret hugged Olivia. You look tired. I'm fine, Olivia said quickly. Arthur shook my hand. Good to see you again. Thank you, sir. George watched me carefully, but said nothing. We sat down. Everything felt too calm. Then the door opened again. Ethan walked in. My chest tightened instantly. He smiled like he owned the room. Surprise, he said. Olivia stiffened. You're not invited. I invited myself. He walked forward slowly. Margaret frowned. Ethan. He ignored her. I brought something, he said. He placed a folder on the table. Arthur frowned. What is this? Ethan smiled. Proof. Olivia leaned forward. Proof of what? He looked at me. Your husband is a fraud. The room went silent. I stayed still. He opened the folder. Papers spread across the table. He's paid, Ethan said loudly. Hired to act. Olivia froze. What? I turned to her quickly. I didn't. She raised her hand. Is this true? My throat tightened. Everyone was staring now. Lily whispered. No way. Margaret looked confused. There must be a mistake. Arthur didn't speak. George leaned forward slightly. Ethan smiled wider. Ask him. I exhaled slowly. I won't lie, I said. Olivia's eyes widened slightly. It started fake, I continued. Yes. Her face changed instantly. But I added. Silence hit the room harder. I looked at her. My feelings didn't. Olivia froze completely. Ethan laughed. Feelings? Seriously? I ignored him. I didn't plan for anything beyond that dinner, I said. But things changed. Olivia whispered. You should have told me. I tried. When? Every time I hesitated. She stepped back slightly. Ethan smirked. There it is. Arthur looked between us. Olivia. She didn't answer. Margaret said softly, This is complicated. Lily shook her head. I don't get it. Ethan leaned back, satisfied. Case closed. But George suddenly stood. His voice was calm, but sharp. Sit down, young man. Ethan blinked. Excuse me. George looked at him. You came here to expose lies? Yes. Then listen carefully. The room went still again. George turned to me. Fake or not, he said slowly. You treated her better than anyone ever did. Olivia looked at him sharply. Arthur frowned slightly. Ethan's smile faded. George continued. You didn't humiliate her. You didn't abandon her when things got difficult. Ethan snapped. That's not the point. George raised a hand. It is the point. The room exploded in tension. Margaret whispered, Father. But George didn't stop. Character is not in contracts, he said. It's in actions. Olivia looked at me now, really looked at me. Ethan clenched his jaw. You're all being fooled. No, George said. You are. Silence again. He leaned back. Dinner continues, he said calmly. No one moved for a moment. Olivia finally sat down slowly. Her eyes stayed on me. And for the first time, Ethan didn't look confident anymore. Olivia didn't look at me the next morning. Not once. When I tried speaking, she cut me off. Don't. I paused. We should talk. There's nothing to talk about. That's not true. She finally turned. You lied to me. My chest tightened. I told you the truth last night. Too late. I didn't hide it forever. She shook her head. You still hid it. I didn't mean for it to go this far. That doesn't change anything. Her voice stayed cold, but her eyes didn't. I stepped forward. Olivia, I never used you. She stepped back immediately. Stop. Just listen. No. Silence hit hard. Then she said quietly, I need space. That's fine. I mean away from you. That hurt more than I expected. I nodded slowly. I understand. She turned away. Good. I stood there a moment longer. Then I said, I'll resign. She froze. What? I don't want to make this worse. That's not necessary. It is for me. She didn't respond. I left the office that day and handed in my resignation. No drama. No speech. Just silence. Sophie caught me outside. You actually did it? Yes. Because of her. Because of everything. She frowned. You're running away. I'm trying to stop the damage. She shook her head. That's not you. I don't know what I am anymore. That night felt empty. Ethan didn't waste time. He showed up at Olivia's family home again. Margaret frowned. You're back. I just want to fix things, Ethan said softly. Arthur didn't look impressed. Fix what exactly? Our misunderstanding. Lily whispered to me later, he's lying again. George said nothing, but watched carefully. Ethan acted gentle. Too gentle. Olivia didn't respond much. She stayed distant. Meanwhile, I spent most days alone. Sophie visited me one evening. You can't just disappear, she said. I already did. You fought harder things than this. This isn't a fight. It is if you care. I didn't answer. She leaned forward. Then prove it. How? Find truth. I laughed slightly. I don't even know where to start. She gave me a contact. Charlotte Hayes, she said. Lawyer. Family friend. I hesitated. Why would she help me? She hates manipulation. That got my attention. I met Charlotte 2 days later. She didn't waste time. Tell me everything. So I did. She listened carefully, then said, something's off. What do you mean? These documents Ethan showed, parts are altered. I frowned. You're sure? I've seen this kind of forgery before. My pulse quickened. So he lied. Not just lied, she said. He engineered the situation. That changed everything. Meanwhile, Ethan kept visiting Olivia. I didn't see it, but Sophie told me. He's acting like he cares again, she said. And she believes him. She's confused. That night, Olivia accidentally overheard a conversation. Ethan's voice echoed in the hallway. She was easy to break, he said, laughing. Olivia stopped walking. I just had to show the truth at the right time. Someone asked, even if it hurt her. Ethan shrugged. That was the point. Olivia froze completely. You still want her back? Someone asked. I want control back, Ethan replied. Silence. Then laughter again. Olivia stepped back slowly. Her hand trembled. Later that night, she came to see Charlotte. What did you find? She asked quickly. Charlotte didn't hesitate. He manipulated the documents. Olivia went pale. That means you were misled. Her breath shook. No, she whispered. Charlotte nodded slowly. And Daniel didn't do what he's accused of. Olivia stepped back like the floor moved. I made a mistake, she said quietly. Meanwhile, Ethan was still unaware everything was collapsing. But Olivia heard enough. She didn't stay. She ran. Through the hallway. Out the door. Margaret called after her. Olivia. But she didn't stop. Tears finally broke through as she whispered to herself. I made the wrong choice again. I didn't expect the message. Olivia, come to dinner. Tonight. Please. I stared at it for a moment. Sophie leaned over. You're going? I don't know. You should. Why? Because running isn't your style. I sighed. It used to be. She shook her head. Not anymore. So I went. When I arrived, the house felt different. Quiet but heavy. Margaret opened the door. You came. I wasn't sure I should. You should be here. Inside, the whole family was already seated. Arthur nodded once. Daniel. Sir. Lily waved slightly. Hey. George watched me carefully. Olivia stood near the table. She didn't smile. Just said sit. I did. Tension filled the room immediately. Then Charlotte Hayes entered. Ethan frowned. Who is she? Charlotte placed a folder on the table. Someone who checks facts. Arthur narrowed his eyes. Explain. She opened it calmly. I reviewed the documents presented last time. Ethan scoffed. And they're altered. Silence dropped instantly. Margaret blinked. What do you mean? Charlotte turned a page. These signatures were copied. These timestamps are inconsistent. Arthur leaned forward. That's serious. Ethan laughed. This is ridiculous. Charlotte continued. There's more. She placed another file down. Financial manipulation. He didn't just expose Daniel. He engineered it. Olivia froze. What? Ethan raised his voice. This is fake. Charlotte looked at him. No, it's documented. Arthur stood slowly. You lie to my house. Ethan pointed at me. He's the problem. Lily stood up. No, you are. Ethan snapped. You're all blind. George finally spoke. Calm. Sharp. Sit down. Ethan hesitated. George continued. You came here to destroy truth. Now face it. Ethan clenched his fists. She chose him over me? Margaret said quietly. You did that yourself. Ethan laughed bitterly. He's nothing. I stayed silent. Arthur slammed the table. Enough. Ethan jumped slightly. Arthur pointed at the door. Get out. Ethan stared. Excuse me. You heard me. This is my mistake. Yes. Lily added, finally. Ethan looked around, desperate. Olivia, say something. She didn't move. He stepped closer. You believe this? Her voice was low. I don't know what to believe anymore. That hit harder than anything else. Ethan turned red. You're all pathetic. Arthur walked toward him. Leave. Ethan backed away slowly. You'll regret this, he said. George replied calmly. We already regret you. That silence finished him. He stormed out. The door shut hard behind him. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Margaret exhaled. That's over. Arthur nodded slowly. Lily sat down again. Finally, George looked at me. You stayed quiet. I didn't need to speak. He nodded approvingly. Olivia was still standing. Her hands were clenched slightly. She looked at me differently now. Not confused. Not angry. Something softer. Margaret said gently, Daniel, sit with us. I hesitated. Then I did. Arthur studied me. You didn't fight back tonight. I didn't need to. He nodded. Good answer. Lily leaned toward me. You're way better than him. I smiled slightly. I'm just me. George said quietly. That's enough. Olivia finally sat down slowly. Her voice was barely steady. You were right. I looked at her. About what? You didn't use me. I didn't respond immediately. She continued. He did. Silence again. Margaret reached for her hand. Arthur didn't interrupt. George simply watched. Olivia looked down. I was blind. I spoke quietly. It happens. She looked up quickly. Not like this. I stayed calm. You were hurt. That's not an excuse. It's an explanation. She didn't reply. The atmosphere shifted. Not tense anymore. Just heavy truth. After dinner, people slowly left the table. Lily whispered, I'm glad you're here. I nodded. Thanks. Arthur gave me a respectful nod before leaving. Margaret smiled softly. Stay a little longer. I will. George walked past me. He paused. You handled yourself well, he said. Thank you. He added, don't let bitterness decide your future. I nodded. I won't. He walked away. Eventually, only Olivia and I remained in the room. She spoke quietly. I thought I had everything figured out. I replied, most people do. I was wrong. Yes. She looked at me carefully. You didn't leave. I almost did. But you didn't. No. That silence felt different now. She stepped closer. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Say what's true. Her voice shook slightly. You were the only one who stayed. I didn't answer immediately. She continued. Everyone else had an angle. Or a reason. Or a lie. I said quietly. I didn't have a plan. She looked down. That's worse. No, I said. That's real. She finally met my eyes. Can we start for real this time? I stood near the window long after everyone left the room. Olivia stayed behind too. Quiet. Nervous. She finally spoke. You didn't answer me earlier. I didn't turn. I heard you. Then why didn't you respond? I sighed. Because it's not a small question. Her voice softened. I know. Silence stretched between us. Then she said, I need to say something first. I turned slightly. Go ahead. She stepped closer. I'm sorry. I blinked. For what exactly? For everything, she said quickly. For doubting you. For letting Ethan's words get into my head. For pushing you away. I stayed quiet. She added, and for hiring you like it was nothing. That caught me. You didn't treat it like nothing, I said. I did at first. I nodded slowly. At first. She looked down. I only hired you because I thought you were the only person I could trust not to lie to me. I let out a small breath. And then I became part of the lie anyway. She shook her head quickly. No, you didn't lie. I did. That hit differently. I finally said, I stopped pretending long ago. Her eyes lifted. When? Before the last dinner. Before everything got real. She swallowed. Then why stay? I hesitated. Because leaving felt worse. Silence again. She stepped closer slowly. You changed things for me. I didn't mean to. That's what makes it worse, she whispered. I looked at her. Or better. She gave a faint, shaky laugh. I don't know what I am anymore. You're human. That's not helpful. It's honest. She nodded slightly. Outside, the house was emptying. Voices fading. Doors closing. Margaret peeked in briefly. We'll give you space. Arthur nodded at me once. Take care. Lily waved softly. Don't disappear again. George paused at the door longer than the rest. He looked at me with a knowing expression. Some beginnings are disguised as mistakes, he said. I didn't reply. He left quietly. Now it was just me and Olivia again. She stood there closer this time. Her voice lowered. If I asked you to leave, would you? I answered honestly. I don't think I can anymore. She exhaled slowly. Then she did something I didn't expect. She reached for my hand. Not hesitant. Not rehearsed. Just real. I looked at it for a second. Then I held it. Her fingers tightened slightly. This feels different, she said softly. Because it is. She nodded. No audience. No rules. No pretending, she added. I agreed. No pretending. She didn't let go. Time passed like that. Quiet. Heavy. Real. Months later, life changed slowly. Not dramatically. Just steadily. I didn't wake up in chaos anymore. I got a new position at the company. Not because of her. Because of work I actually earned. Sophie smiled when she heard. Told you you'd land on your feet. I didn't believe you. Now you do. Now I do. Olivia changed too. She wasn't sharp all the time anymore. Less guarded. More present. One evening she said, I don't want to be that version of me again. Good, I told her. She looked at me. You're staying? For now. She nodded like that was enough. And somehow it was. Later, I found myself back at the Bennett house. Another dinner, but it felt different this time. No tension. No performance. No lies. Margaret hugged me immediately. It's good to see you properly this time. It feels different too. Arthur shook my hand firmly. You earned your place here. Thank you. Lily leaned in. You're still my favorite. I laughed. I'll take that. George just smiled quietly. No words this time. Just approval. Then Olivia stood beside me. No script. No act. She looked at everyone, then at me. My husband, she said softly. I turned slightly. She finished, for real this time. Silence settled gently. Warm, not heavy. I squeezed her hand once. And I said quietly, this time, I'm not being paid.